this is super exciting. Wesley Eugene here, and I'm here with both Katrina Macdermid, author of Human-Centered Design for IT Service Management, and the new book, Humanizing IT, exploring the experience distortion in IT service management. And I'm also here with Mark Basham, CEO of Hit Global. We have a special guest that I'd rather turn the mic over to Kat or Mark to introduce.
I might take this one.
I would just tease that I like to think of this guy as the Godfather of ITSM. But with that, Kat,
I think that's a good way to set it up, actually.
Yeah.
He is the Don.
You started off saying you were super excited, but it's not till you got right to the end there that you started to look excited.
Well, getting you introduced is definitely a highlight here.
Well, you did say, I'll be totally honest, the Godfather. Last night we said the grandfather, and we decided to make it Godfather. But let's be honest, we're all getting old. My pleasure to introduce David Ratcliffe. He's the president of Pink Elephant. On a personal note, I've known David for a long time. I've also known of your incredible company, Pink Elephant, and what your company and your team have done for IT service management. And I don't say this lightly. You have been responsible for shaping what we know today. And I said to Wes earlier that I remember in Australia, I did training through Pink Elephant. I listened to your podcast that you did many years ago, before podcasts were fashionable, with Troy and George.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I love them. We should replay them in one of our podcasts. And it's a pleasure to have you here, David, and thank you so much. And as we've discussed, this is just, we're shooting the breeze, having a chat about the state of IT service management and the expectations of it today and how it's changed from your day.
Well, that's very, very nice of you, Katrina, to say those things. You can invite me back anytime you like to hear those words. I think most of what you said was probably true. I'm not sure about the Godfather.
No.
Yeah, didn't bring my little friend with me, so a little pink elephant friend.
Don't we call that governess? No, I'm kidding.
Well, yeah, it's great to be here. It's nice to talk to fellow enthusiasts, right, who we share a common background from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
So let's get going.
As we're about to dive in, I just want to take a point of personal privilege because my journey with you and your company started long before we ever met. I was the chief of staff to the CIO at a company called Aflac.
Oh.
And I was charged with redesigning and deploying modern ITSM because it was broken at the moment. I had resources. I had Gartner consultants. I had Forrester. I had PwC. At the end of the day, my strategy was driven by a company with a funny name called Pink Elephant. And what made all the difference is that in reading the white papers that your company was putting out then, it was not just thoughtful, it was actionable. And that made all the difference.
That's kind of you to say.
Yeah.
I think, with myself and my business partner, Fatima, we've always been very proud of the team that we have and their enthusiasm and their passion. And, we do our best to guide them and give them some kind of framework for coming up with the actionable, practical solutions. Because after all, where we all came from was definitely a world of theory. Mm-hmm. And I would be very remiss to make remarks about where the original books on IT service management came from and make it sound like they were just kind of made up by people. But, you can see the twinkle in my eye when I say that, there are some people who I have a great lot of admiration for who contributed to those early books, but weren't really deep practitioners.
Right.
They were very thoughtful people maybe more academically minded than industrially minded. But that's what got us started. That's what got this thing going.
Yeah.
You've got something to refer to. And one of the first things people talk about with IT service management is the common language that we get. So at least, those very first books provided a starting point.
Yeah.
And you then have the opportunity to start saying, let's make this practical. And it's where our customers tell us they have the biggest problems. Frameworks don't run organizations. People do, right? And so we can have all of the books in the world. Books are important. They're the best education you can get is reading a book. But when you've got a book and you can and you've still got to do some work, you've got to cross that bridge from what does the theory tell me and how do I put it into practice. And we were very fortunate that we provided this space and we gave the resources to our team to be able to start creating approaches. We can talk about technology till the cows come home and how we've got some fantastic new technology these days. All that does is it makes things happen faster, possibly more accurately. It's good, but AI doesn't make the decisions that run our business. So we need people in the business to be leading the business and using what resources they have, whether it's processes, whether it's tools and technologies. So that's all part of the making things practical, is how do you get that stuff that's written down that people will say is good practice or best practice, and how do you turn it into something useful for us? And, training and coaching is often the first thing that gets cut from budgets. And we still know there are a lot of organizations who are not investing in what they want, what they know they need, because it's the easy thing that can get cut.
Yeah.
But the need is still there.
Right. Yeah. Well, you triggered the word, Mark, investment, right? Like, I know you and I talk about this all the time. As a CEO yourself, what is it you feel that people need to see in order to make the case for that investment in these very necessary disciplines, trainings, these capabilities?
So, no, because it's a great question, and it's one I ask a lot of clients that I talk to, and you guys, and the point that I've made for years is, people need a return, right? People will only spend coin if they're going to get something back for it. So what's the return on any investment that's going to be made? But hold the thought for a minute. For years, training in our space has been on largely the same stuff, right? So IT organizations have training budgets, and they still do today. And we're blessed by having a lot of people come to us and talk about and seek training on, frankly, on experience in humanizing IT. So right now, there seems to be a shift towards experience-based training activities. For years, though, people have been doing, ITIL has been and remains a huge part of most organizations' training budgets. But I do think it's shifting. I've heard more and more customers saying to me that they are stopping that spend now. So they're not going for that repeat certification activity. My observations are people are still doing it, but not in the same numbers. I have no access to accurate numbers right now, so what I'm sharing is feedback and triangulation, but certainly that would seem to be the case. So there's a shift, and that's because has to be, if people are not spending as much on that classic service management training, it has to be because their perception is the value is not there. They're not getting the return that they previously did.
Okay, I have to challenge you.
Go on.
So it's not all about getting a return financially. Mm-hmm. There's other obligations we have, legislation, privacy.
For compliance and governance stuff.
Respecting, things like not just the trademarks, but IP. I mean, this is one of the things with the ethical dilemmas that we have with using AI. Sure. And there's still a lot of people don't really understand that. In our organization, we spend a lot of time talking about this. And so there are times when we maybe are nibbling at the edges of what's legally correct. Yeah. And I don't mean something very sinister. I'm talking about, quoting from someone's book, right? How much are you really allowed to quote?
Right.
There are rules on this, but some of the rules are based on whether you're in the academic world, academia, you can actually do more. But if you're developing products that you're going to sell, you can do less. And so where is that line? So there's obligations ethically to how we do our work.
So David, you talk about reasons for taking training, reasons for investing in learning and development and so on. So you've called out governance and compliance.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on. And that will never change because organizations and individuals have to remain the right side of those.
But there's always been a need for you to respect other people's property.
I agree.
Right? But AI has just made it so much easier for people to do things that maybe they should think twice before they do, right?
So other reasons. So, another one, which is a given, and I don't think goes away, although when times are hard, you might be challenged a little bit more to justify, is people development. So as a manager, as a leader, where you're working with teams and colleagues, you want to be investing in those people. So you want your individuals to be growing, developing, performing better through that, but also feeling personal growth and developing loyalty and so on to the organisation through it. So there's another reason for ongoing investment in individuals.
I think this is, again, this is just a personal opinion, like traditional training that we do in IT service management with AI is becoming irrelevant because David, like your opinion on this also, and Wes, that I'll dumb it down, if you will, incident management as we know it, change management, enable, whatever you want to call it, as we know it, service, that will no longer be the same as what we've been taught for decades and decades and decades. We always followed this process, but AI will completely change all that. And what we've been learning is irrelevant. We don't even have to log a ticket now. We don't have to tell the difference between a service request and anything. All this stuff that we were taught and, problem management and incident management, I believe, and we've talked about this too, as, configuration management and CMDB. Do you need it with AI? So and this is why I think the traditional training that we do in IT service management with, as we all know, the big framework,
To me, I'm very curious where David's going to come in on this, the Godfather. But to me, I feel like AI presents us the largest shift left opportunity we've seen in a generation. And so I don't think that it's so much that these things, configuration management, incident management, are no longer needed. It's really how much of this procedural work can we shift to our digital coworkers, and how much of it needs a human leading from the front. And so that's kind of the way I.
But what I'm getting at, Wes, is like, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. Like, log it. Step one, log a ticket. This is a process.
Sure.
Triage it. Level 1 does it, then it goes to level 2. Like, that's what we've been taught, and that's what our frameworks, or say AI tools, taught us, or guided us. That's irrelevant now.
Is it?
Yes.
I think
who's doing
a difference. Exactly. I think
how it's done.
How it's done, who's doing it, and then also having a human in the loop. But David,
your AI tool is only going to make decisions based on how you prime it.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
So there's still decisions that have to be made as the world progresses, as the business changes, as the way that we use AI for different purposes changes. It has to be primed, it has to be managed, and therefore somebody's going to be making decisions.
Right.
And then you've got data that you're capturing, which maybe, nobody's ever opened a ticket lately, but there's tickets.
Right.
And what are they telling us? Right? And maybe we can use an AI tool that can say, let's do some analysis of those, and let's start creating problems and change records.
Sure.
But is it always going to be, you use the word completely, that's where you got me, right? Completely, you're exaggerating, right? Right? It's not going to completely eliminate incident management with interaction with humans and incident management and problem management. Maybe in a few generations, there'll be some type of technology that will come along, which I don't yet understand. But at the moment, what I'm seeing, first of all, let's all back up a little bit. There's a lot of talk about AI, which is hype, right? You've got tool vendors, bless them, who want to encourage us to look at what products they have and what services they have. But when I hear about something being built as an AI native product, if you know what I'm talking about here, there's a set of books that have just been released which have been described as AI native. If you know what AI native means, it means it was built using artificial intelligence.
Right.
Not Godfathers.
Not Godfathers who have still been around through 4 or 5 versions, right? So, there's example one of hype. But the tool guys, not letting them completely off the hook. Some of them have got fantastic functionality.
Right.
The extension of the tools they've been building for years.
Yeah.
And in fact, to be fair, is in the early days, we used to talk about people, process, and technology as the 3 core enablers of service management. And technology was always kind of like the poor, runt in the litter, because it's really all about intelligence, which is the people part of things. And people design processes, and we use tools to help us do things faster, right? Or more consistently. I would like to say right now that the tools are leading the way as they're providing opportunities for things we didn't know we could do, right? And it's almost like, they're taking over the asylum,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's not because we're not capable of doing anything, we just can't do it as fast or as accurately in a manual way, And what it means is our leaders have got to be smart enough to read between the lines and understand what have they really been sold. What is it I still have to do? Because you're still going to need to make some decisions. Remember what I said earlier?
Yeah.
Frameworks don't run organizations.
People do.
People and leaders do.
Right.
And when I say people do and leaders do, it means they have to make decisions. They have to look at what's going on, and they have to drive forward improvements in an empathic way for the benefit of employees and customers.
Yeah.
And the ultimate benefit of the business.
Do you know, I love how these conversations weave all over the place. I didn't for 1 minute think we'd be
I
talking
call it
about...
rambling.
I love it. We're being approached, Hit Global right now is being approached by a lot of tooling companies to see how we can partner with them to help them position better their services with their end user clients. Because what they're seeing is that it's, and you absolutely nailed it, it's what Humanising AI talks about, is this gap, is if you just drop the tool in to a bad set of processes, it automates nonsense. And so what they're asking us to do, and what we're now starting to do, is working very collaboratively with them and their clients, designing great process, helping them to design great processes, great experiences, user experiences. Then push the tool in, and the tool then will drive much, much stronger outcomes. And that circles back, I think, to investment justification, because user experience, ultimately, improve user experience.
It is, but I hate to kind of be the.
Are you going to be a doom monger?
A bit, but let me run with this a bit. So here's a question. As I hear David, what you just eloquently talked about, as well as you, Mark, I'm seeing a strong business case for companies to invest more in consulting services to improve their processes so that they can actually get the ROI that's possible with AI. I am curious, though, how does this reshape the training landscape if, in fact, let's say a tooling vendor comes in and says, like, I've taken these books that are written by these Godfathers, and I've trained all these agents based on these books. Mm-hmm. As a CIO, what is my imperative on providing that base level training to my organization? How should I rethink that? Is this something that's just for my architects now? And it's not really. But
that's what I was saying, was I think with Dave's saying with the tooling that it's incredible what they're doing. Do we need traditional training? Because the tool is doing it. And I gave you incident management, knowledge management is probably a better example. Back in the day, Dave, remember knowledge management? My gosh, what a chore that was. We don't really need it anymore. And this is what I mean. How relevant is that training? And I think I'm going to throw to you, Dave, with the fresher approach you have to service management and the framework that the pinkers, don't mind me calling them.
Yeah.
Tell us about that a bit.
Well,
what prompted you to do that?
You're right when you talk about how so much is changing right now. The traditional training was what I used to call chalk and talk. You know, it was like being at school. You'd stand in you'd be sitting in a classroom and there's somebody standing at the front, and that would go on for 2 or 3 or 5 days or 10 days. So how do we give knowledge which is going to be valuable and useful to people if nobody wants to sit in a classroom for 2 or 3 days?
Right.
I mean, so now we're in just-in-time training where people can, and we all do it. Right? I was driving my car and it was a funny noise. I'm straight onto YouTube. Right? Here's my model of car. Here's the funny noise. Here's where I think it's coming from.
Yeah.
What is it? What do I need to do? So it's all just-in-time training now. So we're in this transition from the old 2, 3, 4, 5-day training course with certification and exams to making sure that people actually still learn things, but they're doing it in a different way.
Right.
So if I'm the CIO, I'm thinking, where do I spend my training budget?
Right.
How do I then evaluate, make sure I get something out of it? What I would say to those CIOs, if they were sitting here, I'd be going, oh, really? So suddenly now you're interested in wanting to know if the training was worthwhile. And how do we measure that when you apply that change behavior, we're actually getting a positive result? You know, you come back from the class and the boss says, what was it like? And you go, it was great. The guy was very funny. He was really entertaining. And I learned a lot.
Great lunch.
Oh, really? What did
Had
you...
a nice lunch too.
Yeah.
Had a nice lunch, yes. But level 2 is where you actually get some formal feedback, which is usually filling in a form, you know, circling, you know, happy faces and things. Again, not really very scientific, but it was an attempt to at least say, should we continue with this type of training or should we look somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
But where is the real value? Levels 3 and level 4 evaluation is where you can look at somebody's change behavior. So if I'm going to send someone on a training course and I say, look, when you come back from this course, you're going to know how to open a ticket, how to match incidents, how to then link them to problems and make the changes work because, you know, it's maybe technical training on whatever the tool is that you're using.
So when I was rebuilding ITSM at Aflac, this is well over a decade ago, I would make targeted investment in training. And so it would align specifically to the individual's role. So in other words, hey, Daniel, I know you've been talking about knowledge management. I want to prepare you to become our knowledge manager. Send him out for knowledge management training. Yeah. And then over time, watch how he is hungry. Center him as an expert because I don't have the time to learn as much about knowledge management as I'm sending you to do. Well, I'm literally preparing you to be the expert. This is your zone of genius in our enterprise, right? And then the other thing that they were all charged to do, everyone who went to training was charged to do a lunch and learn and to help others understand what they had learned from the training to disseminate the knowledge because I didn't have never-ending dollars, right? Yeah. So those were two things that I found very helpful. But what you've described there is exactly the things that we are more likely to see. And by targeting training to somebody who's interested in the subject, and it's a subject for which common sense tells us we'll benefit from having greater capability, right? Then you kind of feeling like this is probably a good thing, right? But it's not scientific, right? And you don't really know if at the end of the day the bottom line of the organization is going to be any better off, right? But you're just hoping that you're bringing the pieces together, you're putting the things on the table in front of you and hoping they congeal and get to a point of an end product that actually delivers the value that you were looking for.